Leadership within disabled people's organisations. As part of Disability Lib's work on capacity building, ENC, Equalities National Council, developed its Ambassadors project, and Mike Adams at Essex Coalition of Disabled People developed DPO leadership workshops. Part 1 of this film looks at the work of the Equalities National Council, and in Part 2, Mike Adams talks about leadership and describes the Leading Ability programme that he has developed. Equalities National Council is a disabled people's organisation which represents and supports disabled people, families and carers from black and minority ethnic communities. ENC started in 1997 as an advice service, the vision of Julie Charles and a small group of volunteers. With Julie's determination and leadership, ENC has grown into a national organisation offering advocacy, advice and a range of other services to disabled people. ENC has built partnerships with other DPOs, government and others to enhance and develop its work. All ENC work is driven by grassroots needs and supports staff and service users to realise their potential. Clear, responsive leadership and disabled service users, working as staff and volunteers, keeps ENC in touch with disabled people's needs and able to provide well-informed and appropriate services.
We have developed a mentoring service which is for black men that have been in the criminal justice system and the mental health system, and this is to support individuals 3 months before they're released from prison, to actually support them when they're getting ready to come back out into the community, making sure that their probation officers are actually working closely with them so that they're not going to reoffend, keeping track of any type of medication, been prescribed at prison but left prison without any medication and with no GPs, etc. And supporting people through all those processes and to get urgent housing, because many people that come out of prison don't have housing, families have broken down, etc. And so the mentoring work, it's really good work, because all the mentors that actually volunteer and work at Equalities National Council were actually offenders and drug users themselves and haven't actually gone back to reoffend. And we have 8 of mentors. Client-wise, the whole organisation, on a yearly basis, we support around 450 clients.
In 2007, ENC started its Ambassadors project to provide training to people from black and minority ethnic communities who use mental health services. The training is designed to support ambassadors to develop leadership skills and to become actively involved in local and regional decision-making about mental health policy and service delivery. The ENC Ambassadors project has been supported by the Department of Health and lottery funding through Disability Lib.
The ambassadors were taught all about areas of personalisation, direct payments. There was a lot of work happening around the numbers of BME people in the mental health system. People got to understand how to access different policies and from what departments. You know, what does the Cabinet Office do? What does the Department of Health do? What do big charities do? What's the difference between a huge charity and a voluntary sector organisation? There was very, very little knowledge around how health and social care actually came together, and that health, social care, housing, education, employment, transport were one of the vital, holistic needs of a human being's life. And it was those type of things that had to be taught.
Bauna was one of 19 people who took part in the Ambassadors training.
It's given me a greater understanding about mental health policies, and also put me in a better place where I can maybe challenge the system in a more confident way and a more appropriate way. The skills I've acquired, joint learning, looking at good practices, being policy drivers, it's about doing things differently, being flexible, valuing diversity, equality, commitment. It's a whole phenomenal amount of things.
I think at a time now where a government's talking about big society and that communities need to be taking the lead, I think it's important that something like the Ambassadors Programme is actually acknowledged and been given the opportunity to continue once the lottery funding comes to an end.
Throughout the development of ENC, Julie has sought advice and training on a wide range of subjects for the ENC team.
The whole programme of the work that we're doing isn't just about capacity building others, but it's about capacity building within our organisations. And without doing within, you can't really do out. It's okay supporting communities, but you have to know what you're talking about when our advocates and mentors are going out there speaking to social workers, speaking to GPs, going to job centre pluses. You need to be able to actually communicate what's in a policy driver so that you can support an individual as well as you can.
Teamwork and clear management structures are valued at Equalities National Council.
It's absolutely crucial to have good structures and firm structures in any organisation. As the CEO, I lead on the senior management team. We have a senior advocate on that. We have a head of advocacy and mentoring and social work on the senior management team, and also a policy and strategy lead. We have, and all of us work very closely together. Which is good, and it's taken some time to kind of make it flow with our work because of so much that goes on in the organisation, but we've got there.
Hi Sarah.
Mike Adams is the Chief Executive of the Essex Coalition of Disabled People.
I think for us leadership is about vision. It's about setting out a vision and then helping the organisation to implement that vision. I think by having an impairment, by having 53% of our staff who are having an impairment, who we start from a values base that says the lived experience of disabled people, the voices of disabled people is what drives this organisation.
There are lots of people with opinions on this, but
I think leadership is the key to unlocking the amazing amount of talent, disabled people talent that exists in this country. And if we can support individuals to lead disabled people's organisations, then you will get stronger, better, more influential disabled people's organisations, which will then drive much more influence and better services for disabled people, enhancing their everyday lives, which is what we're about.
What's key to effective leadership within local and national disabled people's organisations?
I think in terms of local leadership, one, you need to know the issues of disabled people locally. And that means engaging with disabled people. It means getting a proper representation of disabled people, not your usual suspects. It means working with stakeholders who are also about the local agenda, and it's working in harmony with those, understanding the bigger issues locally and ensuring that disability is a central part of decision making, not a bolt-on extra. So it's about getting your hands dirty in local issues and making DPOs a significant player in the delivery of those local issues. For national, I mean, it's about aggregating all those kind of local organisations and the issues that are coming locally and trying to make some sense of them, where the national trends are, what are the issues that transcends all the local things and what are local specific, and being able to represent the voices of disabled people at a national level to play into national policy. I think the principles are exactly the same. It's about scale.
What are the challenges facing leaders within DPOs at present?
I think, like everyone else in the country, there are funding issues, particularly in the public sector, where historically disabled people's organisations have received their funding. I think in relation to that, I see some changes in procurement which are disadvantaging small local disabled people's organisations in terms of the price that they're able to offer in relation to other bigger organisations. I think there is issues around ensuring that the local voice is really heard, and that plays to the advantage of disabled people's organisations. So I think there are challenges, but I think at the same time there are opportunities, and I think disabled people's organisations need to have a clear understanding of what they're for, what they're about, for who are they about, and ensuring that they can then deliver the voice and services that are appropriate for the area they represent. I think the national environment is ready for leadership of disabled people's organisations. You see the personalisation agenda, you see the localism agenda, you see the empowerment agenda. And therefore there's a real challenge to disabled people organisations to step up to the plate and take on a real leadership position and drive the changes that disabled people want, listen to the voices of disabled people and act on those issues that they hear.
29 disabled people from disabled people's organisations across England have taken part in the Leading Ability training.
Leading Ability is a programme that has been designed and developed to support disabled talent, and that is disabled people who have got some leadership experience and want to develop it further, and for others who it's their first thinking about leadership but want to think about it. And in many ways it kind of takes them through a journey looking about what leadership is and how leadership interfaces with individuals' impairments. It talks about the history of DPOs and why we exist, what the values and the principles that underline any disabled people's organisations, and where and how leadership can take forward DPOs. And then it looks at issues around communication, negotiation, those kind of skills and competencies related to leadership. And we run it in two ways. There's a talk course, 4 modules, which we do as a kind of 24-hour block. So people will come at lunchtime, stay overnight, and then the following morning. So it's a kind of 24 hours. And the other element, which is the distinctive one, is around coaching. And the coaches are all disabled people themselves, about working with individuals before, during and after the talk programme to really identify what their goals are, their leadership goals, and about how they're going to achieve their goals. And I think for the individuals who have participated on it, what it's helped them do is unlock that leadership potential that was already within them.